It gives me great pleasure tonight to introduce to you my newfound cousin, Mr. Randy Country Hawkins, an evening with Mr. Hawkins.
I appreciate that. This is mighty nice to be invited to talk about some of my ancestors and probably maybe some of y'all's too. She had a large family. I didn't grow up really knowing that I was related to Dicey Langston because I'm related to her through my daddy's mother. And she lost her mother at the age of 6, and her daddy almost immediately remarried. So her mother's side of the family, wasn't spoke of too much at all. But I was able to, through research and talking to a fine lady by the name of Catherine Hester, that was a genuine genealogist in Greenville I run up on. She told me, said, I got good news for you. She was working with me on a lot of things. Said, you're a descendant of Dicey Langston. And I said, well, I know who that is. And I said, are you sure? She said, I'm real sure. And I was mighty proud. That was my prize, really, in the genealogy, that I had been looking for. I love all of it. And I love everybody's genealogy because it's amazing how much we intertwine in a wide variety of places, But Dicey was something else. Her grandfather was John Langston, born in Ireland, and we don't know exactly when that was. And Dicey's daddy was Solomon Langston, born in 1732 in Scotland. So they moved around a little bit. And he died in 1825 at the age of 93. And I thought that was something for back in them days. They wasn't even aspirin to give nobody when they got sick. So he must have been tough as whit leather, as the old people called him. And didn't know it. I was reading on the Langston Baptist Church website last night, and it listed him as a reverend. Maybe some of y'all can enlighten me on that. I didn't know about that, But he actually served Dicey's father served in the Spartan regiment early on in the war when he was in his 40s there. But evidently he may have been injured or something, because later on he seemed to be at home more. But he done what he could, I know he did. And but anyway, on earlier he marries up with a Sarah Bennett, who's Dicey's mother. Married her in 1753. She was born in 1733. And so Solomon's will, going down to that, was made in 1810 and recorded the 15th of August, 1825, shortly after he died in Lawrence County. And he owned land in Greenville County. These folks seem to own land all over the place. And in his will, it was pretty amazing, to read those old wills and things. He left one daughter named Sarah. He left her a cow and a calf, and Dicey was left $2. It's customary in those days, the daughters would inherit more if their husbands didn't do as well. So it looks like Dicey's husband done well, and I see that he did, because he bought and sold land left and right in Greenville County. It's unbelievable. He must have had thousands of acres at one time, But Solomon, he gave the land for, Dicey's daddy, Solomon gave the land for what's now Langston Baptist Church in Lawrence County that was organized in 1777. So Dicey was a real young girl at that time. Her name was Ludicia, but nobody ever called her that. They just shortened it and made Dicey. You know, the Irish and the English, we like to take shortcuts in our talking, as you can tell that I do. But anyway, she is born on the 14th of May, 1766, 151 years ago this coming Sunday. And I thought that was mighty fine that we was going to be talking to her on the birth of her anniversary right near it. And there was several born into the household there, but she was somewhat of a tomboy. By the age of 14, she could get on a horse and ride it good as any of the boys and shoot the gun and shoot a squirrel out of a tree and do most anything she needed to do. And so whenever this conflict broke out, you know, people wanted to be free from King George. Dicey stayed at home, but she was not idle by no means. She made a big difference, and that's what we all hope to do, is make a difference. And I don't know what she thought, but she accidentally would run up on information. These people, the Tories would camp near the house and things, you know. And she was just a young girl riding a horse around sometimes and walking. And she'd hear a little something, you know. And her brother James was off fighting, and they always seemed to know where he was at, because she'd run and tell him things, you know, when she'd pick up on stuff. One time, she just took a reputation. They was some of them coming out the road, and they spotted her, the King George's men, and said, "Ain't you James Langston's sister?" She said, "I am." She said, "Well, what's his outfit up to, you know?" And meanwhile, one of the men drawed a gun on her. And she said, "I'll not tell you anything," as she opened her shawl up to receive the bullet. And the man was going to pull the trigger, and another fellow standing next to him throwed it up in the air, and the bullet flew right over the top of her head. And they just wouldn't hardly shoot a young girl back in them days, which was mighty fine, you know. But she come close a couple of times. And she encountered folks like old Bloody Bill Cunningham that was working for old King George over there. One time his outfit come to the house, to the Langston plantation house, and they happened to be in the house, and they seen them coming, and they bolted the door. And Cunningham's men was rapping on the door and what have you, and she went straight up in behind that door and went to hollering at them and told them to get on out from here. Said, "We don't want y'all in here. We're not going to allow you in the house." And they thought, that's a young girl's voice, you know. Said, now that's really something, you know. That struck them. So they went on and left them alone. Didn't bother. But one time, they did get into the house, and they got a pewter basin. Said, "We'll just melt this down." They just confiscated it. "We'll melt this down and make bullets out of it." She said, "Well, we thought about melting it down and get bullets to shoot y'all, but said we always was told that it took silver bullets to kill a witch. I thought that was pretty good, you know. And so they went on without harming them that time out of the house and this, that, and the other. But one time she picked up on some information about an attack at Little Eden. And she said, well, this is pretty bad. There's a good many of them, it sounds like. And it was going to outnumber her brother James's outfit, you see. So she studied about how to get the information to him. Said it was 20-something miles away from the house there. So she decided to wait till after dark. And she said, I just don't believe I can walk it and get back home before daylight, you know. So she waited till everybody in the household was asleep real tight, you know. Slaves too. And she went out and put her brother's clothes on to sort of disguise herself. Plus, it'd have his sin on them because there's a green broke stallion in the stables down there that belonged to him, and nobody could ride it but James. So she goes down there with her brother's clothes on and gets on that old stallion and starts for Little Eden. But the rough part about it, it'd been raining for days. This creek's all swollen out of its banks. Pitch dark, no moonlight. It's only by the grace of the Lord that she got over there to them. But when she come to the Tiger River, you couldn't hardly tell where the banks was, nothing. It was swollen out of its banks. And she knew she was on the right path. She just plunged that old stallion off in that river. And it washed her on down a good ways, but it took her a while, and she found a path on the other side and got to Little Eden. And got over there and found her brother in his outfit. And they was all hungry and everything, and she had told him that they was fixing to be attacked first thing in the morning. And he said, my goodness, he said, I'm mighty glad you got here and told us. Said, we're almost out of ammunition and everything, you know, and they wasn't in too good a shape. And she had wanted to feed them something or other, and she didn't carry nothing with her, and somehow or another they got some of the neighbors around there and got some cornmeal and flour together, and they got some old kindling out from under a building and built up a fire, and she made every one of them a little piece of bread to put in their cap pouches to where they could take care of business in the morning. And she was able to get on back home and get to bed and everything without her daddy and mother knowing she'd ever left the house. She was sly to be 14 years old or so. And Darren Dicey is what they would call her. So old Cunningham's outfit come into Little Eden the next morning, and there wasn't nobody in the houses. There wasn't nobody there, and they had done sent a scout out there and spotted them before, most likely. And there wasn't nobody there. And one of the men said, I just suspect that little old gal Dicey might have had something to do with it, you know. Well, they immediately set out for Solomon Langston's house. And they got there, and Solomon was sitting by the fireside. Dicey was out in the back of the house, and she seen that big crowd coming in. She went in there and jumped. They had done brought a gun, wanting to know about where Dicey was at and what James was up to and all about it. Done brought a gun on him, and she plunged herself between that British soldier and her daddy and said, if the bullet goes through him, it'll have to pass through me first. And that's pretty stout for a little old young gal like that. But she meant business to protect her family. And I think the British soldiers probably couldn't believe what they were seeing, you know. And again, they rode on and left them alone, you know. But another time, her brother James had left an extra gun, which was a precious commodity. They didn't have a man to man the gun right then, but they had an extra gun somehow or another. And James said, I'm going to leave it with Dicey. He said, Daddy's not in too good a shape. They might could get him to give the gun to somebody that wasn't supposed to, you know, some of old King George's men. But anyhow, James said, well, I'm going to leave the gun with you, Dicey, and said, you got to accept this secret sign or a secret word. We never did know exactly which one it was. And said, I don't know when we'll send anybody after the gun, but said at some point, if I can't come get it, said, you gonna know. Because the man's gonna ride up and ask for the gun, and he's gonna ask you gonna ask him for the secret sign or word. So she hid the thing real well, and some time went by. And James sent his buddy, Thomas Springfield, to retrieve the gun. And Thomas rode up to the house and announced, said, I need to see a young girl over here by the name of Dicey Langston. And she said, that would be me. And so he said, well, I'm here to retrieve the gun your brother James has left with you. Well, it excited her. And she went to run and got the gun. And just as she come through the front door, she realized, well, I don't really know this guy. This fella called my brother's name, but said, I forgot to get the secret word or the sign from him. So she is in a bit of a pinch. And Thomas Springfield said, well, I see you have the gun. He said, I'll have the gun now. And she said, no, sir. She said, you're not going to get this gun till you give me the secret word or sign. And he said, well, there's no use to do that. He said, the gun's at hand and so is the protector of it. She said, oh yeah, do you think so? And she drawed that gun on him and cocked it back on him. And said, you'll give me the secret sign or I'll blow you out of that saddle. Thomas Springfield immediately come up with what he was supposed to tell her. And so he got the gun and went on. And it was another little bit of time went by. And James was hemmed up in the upper part of a two-story dwelling or built barn or something other. And they was in a heavy fight with the Brits. And he had shot several of them, but a bullet took him down. And so Brother James died there that day. I'm not sure of the exact date of that, but Thomas Springfield was nearby and knew about him dying. And after the war calmed down and settled down a little bit, he got to thinking about that darn young little lady that he went and borrowed that pistol from, that James. And he thought a lot of James too, I think, from what I've read. And Thomas Springfield went back to the Langston plantation and struck up a courtship with a little Dyson Langston. And they were married on the 9th of January, 1783. And 3 years after that, according to the old family Bible, their first son was born, Aaron, in 1786. And the first of many. Evidently, old Thomas Springfield and Dicey got along real well. They had 22 children. The last one that was recorded in the Bible that lived was in 1809, and Dicey would have been at the age of 43 at this time. So I speculate there was several more on up into their 40s, but did not live. She was past her time on childbirth. But anyway, they 1793, I don't know what, never did know how they acquired the land, but they decided to move from Lawrence to Travelers Rest on what we call now is the Tigerville Road, and probably all of y'all know where the monument's at up there in front of Henry Church. The rock out of it's out of the one of the fireplaces that was in her home there. And now she's not buried there. I've even read stuff that she's buried right behind it, out behind the house. But it's about a quarter of a mile or more over there near my house. I can walk. She's probably buried no further from here to Main Street from my house. I'm real close to the graveyard where the Springfields are all buried at over there. But her daughter Nancy is my fourth great-grandma, born in 1802. That's where I come off of Dicey at. And I think she married a miller, I'm thinking. But old Dicey lived to be the age of 71 and died in 1837 on the 23rd of May. She proudly would state in her older age that just let the King of England get stirred up again. She said, I've got enough of my own kin people, I can take him on with just our kinfolks, you know, is what I've read, you know, because at her death, there was 140 grandchildren and great-grandchildren living, is what is in those books. I have a 2-volume book at the house, and I hope that y'all may have a set of them or can get some at some point. I think some's still available. Ann Pollard of Florida, and my goodness, Joyce Ellis of Greenville, who has since passed on, completed this 2 big-volume family history book. It's where I basically got all my knowledge from. It was really, really neat to have them things, and I got them in 01. And Joyce, they had just blowed New York up September the 11th, and I had to go meet Joyce. She wouldn't mail the books to me, and I went down and met her at Stack's Restaurant and picked them up. But I've cherished them ever since. But hopefully, I'll see if I can help y'all get some of them books if there's some available left. But Thomas, he outlived her. He lived on till 1845, and he married another lady, but no children was born to that marriage. I don't know what age that lady was, and her name, I meant to write that down, but I don't know. I hadn't ever heard it mentioned much, but it's in them books at the house. But now, one of Dicey's daughters married a Bates man from around Marietta on 276, a fellow named John Bates. And I believe that it might have been Sarah. but I'm not sure about that. I should have made a little bit better note on that. She beat Dicey's children number. She had 24 children. Her and one husband. Only 3 of hers did not make it to maturity. That lady died around 49 or 50 years old, and her husband, Mr. John Bates, married another lady and had 5 more children with her. So it's just unbelievable. There's literally thousands of people walking the earth that I'm not a rare thing. I'm one of Dicey's offspring, but there's no telling. I mean, these volumes of books, these ladies had worked on them for years, and they were getting on in years. Miss Ellis was, and she wanted to publish something, before she died. Spent a lifetime gathering this stuff, and it's not near all of it, and there's 2 big books that thick. We can't have everybody in there. It's unbelievable. And but there's no telling how many people that's walking this earth that came from Dicey and Thomas Springfield. But that there pretty much sums up the story. I sort of just kind of put it together, to sound more of a story, but more so than having facts and dates to everything. But I hope y'all enjoyed that a little bit and can remember it. I'm mighty proud to be one of her descendants, and glad to be here talking to y'all about her and everything. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Cousin. I'll be sure and stay, partake, and visit our museum. You'll see in the corner, Dicey. About that big.